the 11th of June, Rabbi Levitt, Ezra.
Okay, so
Got the
right.
carpenter here, so if something comes up, I may have to step out.
Okay.
Also, make it very noisy.
Oh yeah. Okay. Let's see. Oh, here's the magic paper. We're up to we're up to verse 4 in chapter 4.
Okay.
Okay. Vayhi am haaretz. Bottom line on page 36. Good morning, Mayor. Would you like to start?
Okay, 1 second. Says Vayhiam haaretz mirapim, no mirafim, midei am Yehuda u'vahalim otam livnot. So let's see, Vayehi, and then the people of the land weakened the hands of the people of Yehuda, and frightened them to build.
Hmm. Who did this? Who's the Amoritz that we're talking about?
Well, that's a good question. Let's see if there's any comments.
There is.
Oh yeah, right here. Vayihiam haaretz. Okay. So now we'll see who it says, then the people of the land, when the Samaritan people of the land, the enemies of Judah and Benjamin mentioned in verse 1 of Rashi, were rebuffed, they began to disrupt the construction of the temple. I guess not all Samaritans are good. Okay. Then it goes on. Merapi Yedei Am Yehuda. They weakened the hands of the people of Yehuda. It says this idiom is opposite of the expression chizku b'deihem, strengthen their hands, found above. Chapter 1, verse 6. The hindrance caused the Jews to lose their enthusiasm for the rebuilding. Wow. Still doesn't really say what the hindrance was, though. But okay, one more. Umivahalim otam livnot, and they frightened them from to build, from building. The translation follows Rashi, who understands livnot as livnot, from building. Oh, okay.
How did they cause them to have pachad?
Yeah, that doesn't seem to have an answer right here.
Okay, but they wanted to cause them pachad so that they wouldn't rebuild the second base of Mikdash.
Right.
Okay, so those are the in other words, they were the same ones that that's what Rashi is identifying. He's identifying them as the ones that were the in the first pasuk. They were the enemies of Judah and Benjamin. When they heard that the people of the exile, meaning the Jews that came back to Eretz Israel, who they were starting the rebuilding of the Bayis Sheni, then we had the whole they came and they came to Zerubbabel and the other heads of the nation that was there in Eretz Israel and offered to help build with them.
Oh, yeah.
So Zerubbabel didn't want their involvement. He did not want their involvement. I guess we read all of that.
Yes, we did. Yeah. Yeah.
So he didn't want their involvement. So then when they were rebuffed from being able to participate in the rebuilding, they then turned around and attempted to prevent the rebuilding. So that's what they're doing here.
Wow.
Okay, pasuk hey Tulu.
The Sochrim Alehem Yo Atzim Lehafer Atsam Kol Yemei Ko Resh Melech Paras Va'ad Malchus Dar Yashev Melech Paras. Let's see. They hired advisors against them to disrupt their plans all the days of Cyrus, king of Persia, until the reign of Darius, king of Persia. Okay, the commentary says they hired. The letters Samech and Sin are interchangeable. Thus, Sochrim is understood as Sochrim, hired. Sochrim with a Samech is understood as Sochrim with a Sin. Advisors to disrupt their plans. The advisors were to counsel them on how to frustrate the Jewish plans for construction, according to Rashi. And they were to speak to the king and convince him to revoke the permission granted to the Jews, according to Mitsudos. All the days of Cyrus until the reign of Darius. They maintained their pressure and successfully halted the temple construction throughout the reigns of Cyrus and his successor Ahasuerus until the second year of Darius, who followed Ahasuerus on the throne, according to Rashi.
Makes it sound like they were technically permitted and had full authorization to rebuild the temple at that point, but they didn't. They met with all this opposition from these these good Samaritans, and so all the way until the whole Nace of Purim happened, and then Daryavish took the throne. They didn't manage to successfully resume the rebuilding of the Second Temple.
Wow.
That's that's a number of years. I think we have the time frame in the back. The kings of here we have it. Let's see. 3 This is on this is in the appendix, page 5. They have a chart here on the chronology of the period.
Right, I see it.
Wow.
So you have towards the bottom, it says in 3391 or 369, according to their count. The first Daryavish Hamadi, he passes away, and Koresh of he takes the throne, and he's the one that proclaims the right of the Jews to return to Eretz Israel and to rebuild the Beis Hamikdash. And not until 3408, the bottom line, Daryavish, he says, permits the building of the temple. Oh, okay. Not such a long time.
No, 15 years.
The events related in the story of Purim themselves are 9 years.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And we go to Pasuk Vav. Back to Meir.
Okay, let's see. Vav. It says, Uvemalchut Achashverosh, B'techilat Machuto, Katvu, Sitna al Yoshvei Yehuda Yerushalayim. Okay, that was Vav. Okay, so in the reign of Achashverosh, at the beginning of his reign, they wrote a calumny, not sure what that is, against the inhabitants of Yehuda and Yerushalayim. Calumny. It must be something negative. Maybe I'll explain it here. Okay, Ahasuerus. He was Cyrus's successor and the husband of Queen Esther, according to Rashi. Katvu Sitna, they wrote a calumny. Sitna is from the word, Satan, accuser. Oh, okay. The purpose of this slanderous accusation was to halt the reconstruction of the temple, according to Rashi. Yahud Shimoni, quoting Seder Olam, identifies the composers of the attacks as Haman's 10 sons, who were later hanged at the time of the Jewish Purim victory. when Cyrus died and Ahasuerus succeeded him, the temple work had already been halted through the intervention of the Samaritans. Haman, who was soon elevated to an exalted position in Ahasuerus' court, took measures to prevent resumption of the temple restoration. States that the Targum states that Haman had previously journeyed from Shushan to Jerusalem in order to disrupt the construction of the temple. His sons wrote to the provincial governors of the Holy Land, instructing them in the name of the king to thwart any attempt at construction. The Talmud in Megillah regards Ahasuerus himself as a co-conspirator in the slander and remarking Ahasuerus was akin to Nebuchadnezzar. Nebuchadnezzar destroyed the temple, and Ahasuerus sought to destroy the temple. As it is written, and during the reign of Ahasuerus, they wrote a calumny against the inhabitants of Judah and Jerusalem. Rashi explains that Ahasuerus was included among the accusers. The Targum Esther relates that the wicked Queen Vashti persuaded Ahasuerus to halt the construction. Both suffered divine retribution. Vashti was executed. Ahasuerus lost much of his empire and died prematurely.
Right. We don't see that in the story of Purim. The last psukim in the Megillah just relate the fact that Ahasuerus levied a tax on all the countries that he was ruling, but it doesn't say that he had that much of his empire was taken away, that he lost it. Now, it certainly doesn't say that he died.
Right.
But apparently, I think we actually saw this before. This was, but this comes from the Targum to Megillus Esther.
Right.
So Haman was hanged and or hung, however you say it, and Ahasuerus, he lost much of the empire, and he also died prematurely himself. Okay.
But he lived to be 18? No, not 18.
Ahasuerus?
He died prematurely. How old was he when he died?
Yeah, what's called premature? That's a good question.
We don't know.
We could look up the Targum in Esther, but I would imagine that if we looked over there, the Targum wouldn't tell us how old he was when he died. It would probably just say he died before his time or something like that.
Right.
Right.
That's why the art scroll is not saying anything more than that. But wow. So this was in other words, what we see over here is as follows. The whole story of Purim with Haman getting insulted because Mordechai didn't bow to him, and then he makes this makes this decree to annihilate all the Jews. That wasn't the first step in the story. There's a history even before that of Haman as well as his sons. They were the very prominent, if not the main, accusers of Klal Yisrael in trying to prevent the reconstruction, the rebuilding of the second base of Mikdash.
Wow.
Long before Haman ever became the chief advisor to Achashverosh. I mean, long before. I'm saying we're talking about a span of 15 years, I guess.
Right.
But the Purim, it was before the Purim story started. Okay.
So I have a quick note here about Achashverosh.
Yeah.
He said he's identified as the Persian king Xerxes I. He died in a violent manner. He was assassinated in August of 465 BC by his commander of the royal bodyguard, Artabanus, with the help of a eunuch named Aspametris. So we don't know those people, but apparently he was assassinated.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Quick note on that. Okay.
Mm. Very good. Okay, we go on to Pasuk Zion.
Zion.
Lou.
Uviyamei ar tach sha sita kasav bish bishlam mis radas tavel ushar kinavosav al artach shasta melech paras uchsav hanish tavan kasuv arba aramim umesur gum Aramis. Okay, what does it mean? Let's see. In the days of Artaxerxes, Mithridath Tabeel and the rest of his cohorts wrote a greeting to Artaxerxes, king of Persia. The text of the letter was written in Aramaic script and in the Aramaic language. So the commentary, let's see. Oh, the long commentary. Wow. Okay, so Artaxerxes, Rashi, citing Rosh Hashanah, identifies him as Cyrus, king of Persia, who had originally issued the proclamation that approved the reconstruction of the temple. Artaxerxes was a royal title of Persian monarchs. See Rosh Hashanah. This name is spelled differently in different places in the book. In chapter 7, it appears with a samech. near the end of the word, instead of a suf, I guess. In our verse, it is vowelized first with a kametz and then with a shva. The commentators consider all of them to be variant spellings of the same royal title. The English transliteration is Artaxerxes in all cases. Indeed, his true name, the Talmud asserts, was neither Cyrus nor Artaxerxes, but Darius, not to be confused with Darius the Mede, Cyrus' predecessor, nor with Darius, son of Achashverosh and Esther, who ascended the throne 14 years after Cyrus' death and restored the temple. Rashi notes that the numerical value of Cyrus and Darius are I'm sorry, I lost my place. Are each 520. Because of his virtue, he was given the name Koresh, Cyrus, a derivation of the Hebrew word kosher, virtuous.
Wow.
According to Rashi, the event portrayed in verses 7 to 24, the letter to Artaxerxes, and his ensuing decree halting the construction of the temple took place before the slanderous attack of the reign of Achashverosh, described in verse 6. Since Cyrus' rule preceded that of Achashverosh, in this view, the chronological order of the events in our chapter is as follows. Verses 4 and 5 relate the general history of the incessant activities of the people of the land against the Jewish builders from the days of Cyrus through the times of Achashverosh and Darius. Verse 6 portrays the writing of the calumny during the reign of Achashverosh by the sons of Haman and Achashverosh, who feared that the temple construction might be resumed. Verses 7 to 24 return to the time of Cyrus, describing the original letter written by the people of the land to King Cyrus and his resulting ban on the temple restoration. However, Ibn Ezra, Ralbag, and Rabbi Yeshaya Mitrani think that Artaxerxes mentioned in this verse is not Cyrus, but Achashverosh, whose name appears in verse 6, and that the calumny mentioned in verse 6 is elaborated upon in verse 7. It began with a letter written by Mithridath Tabil to Axaceres, or Achashverosh, urging the reaction of the temple.
Retraction.
Urging the retraction of permission to resume construction of the temple. In Rabbi Yeshaya's opinion, the order of events in our chapter are as follows. Verses 4 and 5 give the general record of the opposition of the people of the land to the building of the temple during the days of Cyrus, Achashverosh, and Darius. Verse 6 describes the writing of the calumny during the reign of Achashverosh. Verses 7 to 24 provide the details of this slander, beginning with Mithridath Tabil's letter to Artaxerxes / Achashverosh, and ending with the king's reply supporting their opposition to the Jewish builders. Okay, now the phrase wrote. The principal writer was Mithridath Tabil. The others merely joined his plot. This may explain why the verb is in the singular. The greeting, they wrote a letter containing a peace offering. They wrote a letter containing a peaceful message, according to Rashi. Apparently, the meaning is that they presented their case as loyal subjects to the king, concerned only with the peace of the empire. Malbim, however, states that Bishlam was the name of one of the persons who wrote the letter. His reading is Bishlam Mithridath, and Tabil and the rest of his cohorts wrote to Artaxerxes. Mithridath Tabil was the name of one of the enemies, Rashi. Rabbi Yeshaya Mitrani is of the opinion that he was a satrap who ruled over the non-Jewish residents of Samaria. Malbim believes that Mithridath and Tabil were two people. This is the opinion of Ralbag as well. The translation follows Rashi, who interprets al, literally on, as el, two. The text of the letter, this translation follows Rashi and Ralbag, who render Hanish Tavan, the letter. Other commentaries differ in their interpretation of this word. Even Ezra suggests that Hanish Tavan is derived from shava, equal. He translates Kasav Hanish Taran, balanced text, meaning that both the characters of the language were Aramaic. He also offers another translation of Nish Tavan, seal. According to Radak and Mitsudos, Nish Tavan is translated as lucid, thus the lucid letter. The letter was clear and explicit, either in the unambiguous treatment of its accusation or in its clarity of expression. Malbim translates Kasav Ha-Nish Tavan as the original text, Mishtaran from the root Shav in evil. The original draft is the one to which the translation is compared to determine its accuracy. Thus, the original letter was written in Aramaic script and in the Aramaic language, the native tongue of the Samaritans. It was then translated into Persian by Russian Rehum and Shimshai. According to the minority Talmudic opinion, the translation of Kasav Ha-Nish Tavan is the changed spirit. It refers to the new alphabet that came into use during the time of Ezra. Wow, this is a long commentary. The 5 books of Moses were originally written in the ancient Hebrew alphabet, Kesav Ivri, Hebrew script, with the stipulation that the new alphabetic characters would be introduced at a later date. This stipulation is intimated by the biblical decrees. Homiletically interpreted as the changed text.
Changed Torah.
I'm sorry,
Oh yeah, look at that.
the changed Torah. Implying that the letters of the Torah would someday be changed.
Wow.
The change was introduced by divine revelation, according to Rashi, to Sanhedrin, Yafa Mara, and Yerushalmi Megillah during the times of Daniel, when the angel Gabriel wrote on King Belshazzar's wall a message intelligible only to Daniel. The lightness of a human hand inscribed a mysterious message on the wall of Belshazzar's palace. Called upon to interpret the handwriting on the wall, Daniel informed the king that he foretold his downfall. That night, Belshazzar was murdered, and his kingdom fell to the Medes. Daniel chapter 5.
Okay. Very good. So that takes us up to the next pasuk. Okay, we're out of time for now.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Okay, so we're up to Het.
Okay.
Okay, very good.
Very good.
See you in the
So,
comments.
we'll continue tomorrow, Bezrat Hashem.
Amen.
Good day to Mayor.
Okay.
We'll have the Gemara soon.